The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho is one of the best-selling books in history. The premise of the book is follow your personal legend. The plot of The Alchemist revolves around chasing your dreams or life's purpose, which the author refers to as your personal legend. To make his point, the author tells a tale about a young shepherd boy named Santiago who leaves his herd of sheep in search of buried treasure in a faraway land. I will give you a high-level telling of the story and will insert some lessons from The Alchemist that I learned as we go along. The story begins with Santiago bringing his ship to an abandoned church in the countryside where he will sleep for the night. He is excited as in a few days he will visit a merchant who will buy some of his wool. However, he is even more excited to see the merchant's daughter, whom he met a year earlier and whom he has a crush on. Santiago fantasizes that the girl may possibly be the one. However, his fantasy is quickly derailed by recurring dreams where he is told by a child to visit the Great Pyramids in Egypt where he will find buried treasure. It is when he decides to see if he can find out what the dreams mean that his life totally changes. Upon the advice of a gypsy lady and an interesting old man who claims to be the king of Salem, he decides to sail his herd of sheep and sails to Morocco in pursuit of the hidden treasure from his dreams. During his conversation with the old king, he learns an important lesson, which is lesson number 1, don't be concerned with what others think. The old king says to Santiago, in the long run, what people think about shepherds and bakers becomes more important for them than their own personal legends. The lesson here is being not to worry about or let what others think of your dreams or life's purpose stop you. For example, if your personal legend is to become a world-renowned photographer, then don't abandon your dream just because maybe your girlfriend's father wants her daughter to be married with a government employee. After contemplating for a while whether or not to leave the girl and pursue his personal legend, Santiago finally decided to sell his herd of sheep and follow his dreams. Shortly after arriving in Morocco, his money is stolen by a man he meets in a bar whom the bartender had tried to warn him about. Here comes our lesson number 2, take off your rose-colored glasses. While reflecting on the incident and his misfortune, the boy was able to come to terms with it. He says to himself, I am like everyone else. I see the world in terms of what I would like to see happen, not what actually does. He didn't heed the bartender's advice as he wanted to believe what was in his best interest, which was that the man was trying to help him. The lesson here is that there are times we see things how we want them to be, not as how they really are. Sometimes we need to step back and try to look at things in an unbiased way. For example, if you are starting your dream startup, don't just believe anyone who offers you a great deal. In the beginning of our journey to follow our personal legend, due to excitement, we tend to make wrong decisions that create huge obstacles in our path. This sudden misfortune causes Santiago to quickly find a job in a crystal shop. He ends up working there for a year and makes enough money to buy his sheep back. At this point, he contemplates abandoning his dream and go back to his previous shepherd lifestyle. However, after some thought and listening to his herd, he ultimately decides to continue in pursuit of his personal legend by joining a caravan and crossing the desert. As the caravan gets closer to the pyramids, he learns many lessons and meets many people, including a girl named Fatima, whom he falls in love with. 2 of the lessons he learned while crossing the desert were lesson number 3, be observant and open to learning new things. As he is crossing the desert, he thinks to himself, I have learned things from the sheep and I have learned things from crystal. I can learn something from the desert too. It seems old and wise. Meaning that you can learn life lessons anywhere from anything at any time. The key is to always be observant and open-minded to learning new things. For example, just look outside the window and observe the tree. Observe if you can catch what it is trying to teach you. like always stand tall and proud. Bend yourself in extreme situations. Drink plenty of water daily. Remember your roots. Shelter others when they are in need, and so on. The next lesson comes in a conversation the boy has with the camel driver who says to Santiago, "I don't live in either my past or my future. I am interested only in the present. If you can concentrate on the present, you will be a happy man." So our lesson number 4, focus on the present. Don't worry about the past or the future. Just focus on the present. Because everything happens only in the present moment. Nothing ever can happen outside the present moment. You can only imagine the past and the future, but the fact is, they don't have a real existence. They only exist in your mind. So if you can handle only the present moment with all your attention, everything else will be automatically handled in life. At one point, Santiago contemplates abandoning his journey to stay with Fatima, but ultimately, he decides to carry on his journey. This decision comes after speaking with a mysterious alchemist he had just met, who knows the secret to turn lead into gold and is almost 200 years old. The alchemist accompanied and mentored him until he reached the pyramids. The lesson he learns from the alchemist. Lesson number 5. Don't let anyone or anything derail your dreams. While contemplating whether to stay with Fatima or continue on his journey, the alchemist says to Santiago, "You must understand that love never keeps a man from pursuing his personal legend. If he abandons that pursuit, it's because it wasn't true love." The advice being not to let anyone or anything stop you in the pursuit of your dreams. If they really love you, they will support you and will be there for you. If not, maybe they are not for you. As they are traveling, Santiago asks the alchemist why he hasn't taught him anything yet, which brings us to our lesson number 6, take action to learn. The alchemist responds with, "There is only one way to learn. It's through action. Everything you need to know, you have learned through your journey." Meaning that it is great to read and study and listen, but to really learn, you need to put your learnings into practice. Eventually, Santiago makes it to the pyramids, where he weeps for joy, realizing that his dream has come true. He then begins to dig for treasure where his tears fall, because his heart has told him to do so. At that point, he is confronted by some robbers who beat the crap out of him. One of the robbers mocks him and says he once had a similar dream looking for treasure in a crumbling church. It is after they leave that Santiago puts 2 and 2 together and realizes the abandoned church that the robber is talking about, it is where he has his dream. That's where the treasure is. The story comes full circle as he arrives back at the same church where the story began. Once he is there, he has a big revelation which leads us to our lesson number 7. The real treasure is learning. The real treasure was not the riches he found buried beneath the church, rather, the real riches were the lessons learned, the personal growth and improvements he made, and the experiences he had in the search for his personal legend. Which brings us to our final lesson from The Alchemist, and it comes from the author Paulo Coelho himself. You see, when The Alchemist was first published back in 1988 in Coelho's native Brazil, no one noticed. In fact, it took 6 months to sell 2 copies, and they were to the same person. The first publisher cancelled the contract with Coelho after the first year and cut him loose. According to Coelho, "But I never lost faith in the book or ever wavered in my vision." Why? Because it was me in there, all of me, heart and soul. I was living my own metaphor. A man sets out on a journey, dreaming of a beautiful or magical place in pursuit of some unknown treasure. At the end of his journey, the man realizes the treasure was with him the entire time. I was following my own personal legend, and my treasure was my capacity to write, and I wanted to share this treasure with the world. So our final lesson number 8, never give up pursuing your personal legend. Just as Santiago never gave up on pursuing his personal legend, neither did Coelho. Despite the poor initial reception of the book has gone on to sell over 65 million copies, been translated into 80 different languages, a Guinness World Record, and been on the New York Times bestseller list for 315 weeks. I have created an infographic summary of this video. You can simply set it as your mobile wallpaper or take a printout of it and stick it in your room's wall, so that the life lessons come into your notice every day and you always remember them. You can download the image by following the link given below in the description. Also, if you haven't read the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho yet, then you can buy the book by following the link given below in the description. Thanks for watching. More wisdom, more solution, better life.